My name is Leisha. I am with EasyWay. I do talk really quick, so it's very informal. Feel free to interrupt me. I'm going to go through a lot of information. So we have a new lift that we're trialing. It's essentially the same lift that you guys currently have. It's just we try to improve them over time. This is one of our improvements. It's now called a Smart Lift, if you want to see, versus the Premier Lift that you currently have. The main difference is that you guys as staff are going to see are going to be a green control box instead of a cream colored ones. And there's going to be larger white plastic casters instead of the metal ones.
Just tell me, I'll do it.
Otherwise, as far as you guys are concerned, the usage is going to be the same, but we're going to go ahead and just go through some things. So this is a 500-pound weight capacity. There's a sticker on the side. There's a master sticker down below. When it comes to weight capacity, that's what the max weight is that you can lift. However, all of your slings are going to hold up to 1,000 pounds. So when we talk about weight, it's not really what is the sling going to hold, it's more what the body shape's going to fit into. So we'll go over some visual cues on that, but understand there's kind of two different weight limits. The weight limit of the unit and then more the body shape and size for sizing of your sling. Now this one does have 4-prong batteries. You have a lot of 4-prong, but you have a few 3-prong batteries. So do keep in mind that you check that battery and make sure that only 4 prongs get interchanged with 4 prongs. And 3 prongs get interchanged with 3 prongs. Really easy to see the difference. The 4 prongs are a flat surface. The 3 prong have a black knob that sticks out. All right, and you just slide that in. For trial purposes, these are going to be labeled, so that's why those tags are there. So on button is also your off button. When you first turn it on, it's going to say greetings. Easy Lift is awake. It's just checking out its electronics. Once that greeting is gone, you see your battery level. Your battery level is going to be like your car gas gauge. So it will tell you when to change batteries, but you can change the battery at any time. Once that battery gets used up, it will say change battery. If you ignore that first message, it'll let you do 5 more lifts and then it will say swap battery. Now if you've ignored that second message, it will eventually power down and it will say emergency stop. The reason for that is so you do not drain that battery too low. Now there is a trick that I have seen some staff do that can actually override that and drain that battery even lower. Those of you who know what I'm talking about, don't do that. I'm not going to explain it, so those that aren't doing it, start doing that. But you are actually damaging your battery by doing that trick. So when it actually says change battery, you need to change the battery. So if you ever see emergency stop on your display, first check the emergency stop. Maybe somebody accidentally engaged it, twist it, and it will be removed. If it still says emergency stop, you just need to swap it with one in your charger. Now, emergency stop is primarily if you're working for a partner and you see something's wrong, instead of trying to talk quickly to your partner, you can just react and stop the unit from operating. If the battery is dead, you can always go down with a dead battery. You just can't go up with a dead battery. So there is an emergency down. The emergency down is not necessarily your person's having an emergency, it's if your lift is having an emergency. So in other words, if I have somebody coding, I'm still going to hit my down key, it's going to go just as fast. If I can't get the lift to do anything at all, then I'm going to use my emergency down to get my person out of it. It is steel. We do not want to tip it. You will get hurt. So if you do need to use an emergency down and it's never been used, you might have to prime it or pump it a couple times. But when you have weight in here, it will slowly come down until you let go. So that's your emergency down. Now, a couple things about the EasyWay equipment, because they are made out of steel. You can spread your base to multiple positions, but it has absolutely nothing to do with stability. So you can have it narrow and it's just as safe. The reason why that's important for us is it gives us a lot more options. So let's pretend that we have a bariatric wheelchair. So it's quite wide. So let's say when I come to do a front load with that bariatric wheelchair, now all of a sudden I'm wedged. Does everybody know what I mean by wedged? In other words, I can't get in any further. So see where this green nose is? That's where my bottom is. This is where I need my bottom to be. Too great of a distance. So I can pull all I want. All I'm going to do is try to pull that lift on top of us. So if you can't get in far enough because it is too wide, we're going to try a different approach. So if it is truly a bariatric wheelchair, you might be able to close it up and actually go through the middle of that bariatric wheelchair. If that doesn't work, we can do an angle. And if, again, it is a true bariatric wheelchair, you might have to feed it through. And as long as it can shimmy and shake, you're good to go. If you feed it through and it's wedged, you have to take it back out and try another option. So if we can't do the angle, then we might need to do a side transfer. Again, Broda chairs, good example. Sometimes they're still so wide that I can't span around it. So again, I might need to close it up and go through the middle of that rota chair, or I might need to do a half and half. What I want you to understand is that we have options within here to do all those different angles. What we cannot do is a parallel swing. Everybody understand the difference? So anywhere in here, good, any type of direction, just not on the edge. So the base can be in any position at any time. There are wheel locks on the back. Do not ever lock them, ever, unless you're on a ramp or an incline, and I don't think you guys have a ramp or an incline, so you guys should never have to lock your lift except for when it's not being used and being stored. The reason why is because of the steel. It actually has the ability to self-balance. If it cannot self-balance, that's when it's going to want to tip. So locking the wheels, wedging it around an object, running over a cord underneath your bed are all concepts of locking that wheel. I'm going to be dramatic when I do some lifting. You'll see it move. When you see it move in real life, try not to freak out and stop it from moving. That's when it's going to want to try to tip on you. All right. Keep in mind that if we are doing all those different angles, you have to spin your hanger bars so that you can accommodate. What I'm talking about is, think if your person has a set of shoulders, your lift actually has a set of shoulders with arms as well. So if you come up to me like this and you see two shoulders, that just means you have to turn it so you have one shoulder matching mine. If we're going to do an angle, it's going to do an angle. Side transfer, it's going to do a side. So, slings. We have different styles of slings. This is called the deluxe, which is the most popular. It does crisscross between the legs. Any of our slings that have cutout legs have this center horseshoe seam. This is what you want to line up with the tailbone, or in theory, as long as that touches the bottom of the chair, that's where the tailbone should be. But let's keep in mind, when we bend somebody forward, we bend at the waist, not at the tailbone. So if you have a tight-fitting wheelchair, sometimes that sling will get hung up on that waistline, so that when you wrap your legs, two things are happening. One, I have hardly any material to wrap around with, but the second part is, can you see that my hips are completely exposed, so it's at my waistline, so I can slide right out of this. So if you ever see that happening, just make sure that you grab that sling and touch it so it touches the bottom of that chair. Then you actually have more material to wrap with. Those hips are going to be covered, but I'm not sitting on the sling, so don't push it underneath that bottom. The bottom is designed to purposely peek through so that if we want to go to bed, take down the pants, re-lift bare bottom, we could then toilet. So that's the purpose of that bottom peeking through. Don't push that sling underneath. Now when it comes to our legs, we always have to crisscross. I don't care if you just crisscross or if you want to feed it through that bottom loop. Lays a little bit flatter, so if you have somebody with sensitive skin, it just might not bunch up quite as much. Now we've got 3 loops on your legs. 1, 2, 3. 3 loops on your shoulders. There is no right or wrong, but be kind to yourself. If you're going to be going to a straight back chair, have them sitting up, don't have them all the way laying back. So essentially we can have them in multiple positions. We can have them sitting up, we can recline that back to 2 different angles. We can bring those hips up to 2 different angles, or we can almost be supine with a slight bend at the waist. I generally will always do the sitting position because it works from bed to chair, chair to bed. The only time I personally don't do that is if I have somebody really tall. I don't want them to feel like their head is right at that hookup, so that really tall person, I'm going to recline once. Or if I have a double amputee and I feel like they're kind of falling forward, I can raise those hips up to kind of rock that weight back. Otherwise, here's a starting point, which is the sitting position. That is long on your legs, they both start with the letter L. Short on your shoulders, they both start with the letter S. That will always get you into that most sitting position, and then from there you can decide if you want to change it. Now, some facilities decide that they want to double loop. Understand that every loop is designed to be individually used. You as the user are responsible for inspecting them. All you want to do is give a little pull on that loop, so in case it was washed with bleach, it won't deteriorate in your hands. You want to check for some fraying that's over 1/4 of the way in. So if you're concerned about the loops, you do your inspection. Otherwise, if you double loop, you're getting rid of your long loops. The other thing to keep in mind when you are double looping is this hookup has a new design. Small space here. So if you double loop, sometimes that small space, that hookup gets caught in there and it doesn't drop all the way in. You need to make sure that if you are going to double loop, that drops all the way in. Otherwise, understand that they are made to be used individually so that you can clearly see. All right. Sizing. Visually, it's really easy. What we're looking for are two factors. The first one is wrapping the legs. We want to have some material come around that thigh. If you have nothing but loops, then you might need to jump up a size, but remember to check that it's properly placed. So you want some material around that leg. Now the old way of sizing the shoulders was to match the top of the sling with the top of the shoulders. We are all different heights, so that's not going to always work. So for average to tall people, it's going to be right at the shoulders. What we don't want is for it to be down in the middle of the back, below the shoulders. We want it at the shoulders. But if you have a shorter person, it is possible that it's going to be higher than those shoulders. But keep in mind when we're sizing, so let's say that I am a 300-pound person, but I am 5 foot, so I'm really short. So because of my height, I'm going to go a little bit wider here in my midsection. So let's say because I carry all my weight in my thighs and my belly, that my sling down here maybe just fits, okay? So then we're going to go up a size to see if it maybe fits better. But by going up a size, because of my height, I have all this corner here. It's the same concept as using your long loop. So even if you use that short loop, because of this big corner, I'm going to recline all the way back. So a 300-pound person to get upright into a straight back chair is going to be a little bit more effort. So in that situation, if your legs just fit, it might be better just to use that size down that just fits instead of going to that much larger size that's going to have a lot more material on those shoulders. Does that make sense? Okay, so just some troubleshooting there. Who would like to be my model? Promise it'll be painful, or painless.
I think Brad does.
I think not.
You're the tallest one.
I think
Somebody,
Kaden
anybody?
does.
Anything in your pockets I can stab you with? Okay, have a seat. Lean your forward. Okay. I'm just going to position first. Oops. So I like to give a little tug to make sure my legs are the same distance. If one is shorter, then you know you have some missing material. Now, if you've never been in a sling before, you've never had somebody apply it to you, it's extremely awkward if you have you and your partner both come at you at the same time. So right now, when everybody lift both their legs at the same time. Okay, a little bit awkward, right? First thing you want to do is push back down. That's what they're going through. So be kind to your person. Instead of both of you coming and grabbing a leg at the same time, both work on one leg. So one person can roll, the other person can position, then go to your second leg. So what my goal is I just want to get it behind that knee, underneath that thigh. Crisscross. Now, keep in mind some people are in 2 sizes. Because of your height, I could probably put you into a large sling as well. So you're kind of one of those that are in between. Now, I've never lifted you, Eric, so I don't know if you're a mover and a shaker, so I'm just going to lift that. Is that not your knee? No. Oh, you have a cheat sheet on the back that's not you. Sorry about that.
He likes
Yeah, I know.
Flip that back around. So now, when I'm ready, I can move it closer. So I'm going to go ahead and put you in the sitting position, and then I'm going to actually take you down and put you into the recline position, just so that you can see the difference, especially with somebody with height. Now, I'm going to purposely pull it back. You don't necessarily have to do that, but I want to be dramatic with you guys, and I want you to see how I hit the up key. It will actually move towards you. It will not hit you. But if I were to lock the wheels or pull that lift back, it's going to try to scoop you up. This way, the lift is designed to always pick the body up straight, even if we have them crooked in that sling. So this is just the lift self-balancing. Don't stop that motion. All right, clear your surface and stop. So in other words, I don't have any drag. Oops, I do have drag. I didn't clear it quite enough. No drag. I can pull my wheelchair away. But here's where we need to learn how to work with the lift and not against it. So can everybody see this arc? Can everybody see his legs? So you're not afraid of heights, are you?
No.
Okay. So not much of a problem, right? I can spin you all the way around. But let's say instead of clearing my surface and stopping, I decided, hey, the lift goes high, so I'm going to take you all the way high. The problem is this arc is designed to push us into a chair. So if I didn't pivot the body right away, if I decide to bring him up, this arc is gonna bring his body closer and closer. So if you truly were 500 pounds, you were gonna be wrapped all around my lift, right? So has anybody ever seen this positioning? Some not. Okay, here's what I see in the field. They come up, then they either push on their legs. Well, if you have knee or skin sensitivity, I could give you some injuries. But what I see the most of, people will come back here because these handles are right in front of them, and they will grab these handles and they will do a big swing up on an angle.
101.
Two things are happening. One, we defeated the whole purpose of using the lift. Because the fact that the lift is already lifting, by grabbing these handles, are gonna fight the lift, and I'm now gonna work against it by trying to lift the body even higher. So I defeated that purpose of using the lift. Even the bigger problem is by me trying to get one leg around, by pulling on an angle, I'm now creating a door here that I could spill him right off the side. So we don't wanna do any weird pulling, pushing. That's your cue to stop. All I have to do is hit that down key. Just watch, I don't give you some bruises. And you can see as we go down, that body gets pushed back. So unless you have a surface that is truly that high, you never have to go that high. And if you do, turn the body to the side and then you can go up higher. Make sense? All right.
Could you demonstrate how easy it is to get the drawers off at the position?
In this particular sling, we cannot get the drawers off, so we would have to go to bed, take your pants off, re-lift you bare bottom. All right, so putting somebody back into a chair, sort of the same concept. All right, so this is what I see a lot. Wheelchair is butted up all the way against the back. Big gap here. You guys use two people, right? So usually partner number one is here, partner number two is back here. So my invisible partner is Susan. So this is what I see a lot. I'm gonna swing you. All right, Susan, are you ready? Okay, anybody ever seen her done that? I warned you, sorry.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, so what's happening? One, I flung him forward, I scared him a lot. Two, he's tall, so we don't want to hit anybody's head. And three, I did all the lifting, so again, defeated the whole purpose of using the lift. So why is this happening? This is happening because he's up so high, the lift is already lifting this high. So for me to grab these handles, I again have to lift the body higher, so now I'm fighting against the lift. So all I want to do is just leave a space between his back, the back of the chair. I'm going to position myself and I'm going to wait for Susan to hit the down key. My goal is a half an inch above that chair. I'm just going to do a curl and then go with the body weight down. If you can't see that, have your partner cue you or have your partner grab the hand control. That's the purpose of this, so that they can actually be over here. So again, I'm waiting for Susan. She's not doing anything, so I'm just going to hang out. Once Susan starts to hit that down key, now I can get ready. I'm going to curl and go down. I can do a 720-pound person myself with that technique. I'm going to take you up a couple more times. If you really have somebody who really wants to be up into that corner versus actually sitting, grab your partner from behind. You're each going to stand on each side, and you're going to do the curl together on the side with the side handles. Otherwise, if you have a high back chair and you can't reach those handles, or you're really known for lifting, try the higher one. It's a lot harder to actually lift with it. So I'm going to actually use that top handle. I'm going to anchor it either against my body or against the chair. It's going to allow that bottom to swing back, and then as soon as I feel the weight, I'm just going to slide down with that body. Okay. So once that bottom touches, that's when the lift gets close. So as soon as that bottom touches, back it away. Focus just on your shoulders so that you can keep backing that further and further. But did everybody see how I did not lift and hold all that weight? If you keep doing that, I can guarantee you're going to have wrist, shoulder, and lower back injuries, and you will not be able to change that after that happens. So please try to work with the lift and not fight against it so much. So now if I did put my sling on properly, I'm just going to unwrap your legs, lean you forward, and they will pop out. Thank you for being my model. Now, did anybody notice while up in the air the bottom did peek through? I don't want to draw attention while they're in it, but that bottom peeking through is purposely for that, so if you did want a toilet, you could. All right, do I have any questions yet? Feel free to stand up if you can't see this next one. We're going to go over log rolling to get your sling in, and then floor pickups. So there's not a right or a wrong way to log roll. But I get a lot of people when they're in bed complain that it takes a lot of effort to get that sling centered, and you're doing a lot of work with your wrist. So if you do struggle getting that sling centered, you can try my trick. I fold my sling in half so that my handles are on the outside. This now gives me a tailbone spot, but it also gives me a spine of the sling that I can match with the spine of the body. So again, feel free to stand up if you can't see. The problem is when we log roll, it's really difficult to see if you do the accordion fold or the tuck, that this spine is in the air, where that spine is going to come back down when you log roll. So my trick is, I'm going to line up the tailbone spot of the sling with my tailbone, I'm guessing because I can't really see. Then we're going to estimate how high that spine is off of your surface. We're going to back the sling off that same distance, so there's actually a gap between the body and the sling. I think I'm close. Then we're going to take that top layer only, tuck that against the body, so that I log roll back through, I will be centered between that sling first try, okay? Floor pickups. Crisscross your sling legs as normal. There are 2 tricks, and if you do not remember the tricks, you will not be able to do it. Trick number 1, the screen nose needs to be above the belly button. You can see it's nowhere close to that belly button, so you do have to pick up the legs. You can put one on each side, you can put them both to the same side. Aim for those knees to be above that base, which will put that green nose above the belly button. Trick number 2, do not hook up your legs first. You will never reach your shoulder hookups. So you're going to hook up your shoulders first. In the medium and the small sling, you're only going to reach the longest loops. In the larger slings, you will have more loop options. Now this particular sling does not have head support. So on this one, you would have to provide manual head support. And that is your floor pickup. Now, nobody is ever going to fall in this big opening, right? They're going to be underneath that table or wedged between the sink and the toilet. When that happens and you cannot access them yet with the lift, get your sling underneath them. If you're still struggling, grab a clean garbage bag and push that underneath the bottom. It'll be like a slide sheet, so then you can use all these things to pull on those to get them out of that corner or underneath that table instead of pulling on those arms and legs. So, I'm going to get a little higher and I'm going to get combative on you. So see how it just keeps moving around? All right. I don't want you to freak out when you see that for the first time because your natural response is to go over and stop it from moving, right? If you do that, it's going to instantly try to tip. What's happening is as I'm bouncing around, it's bouncing out jet energy so that eventually it will stop. So it's just going to keep bouncing less and less. If I grab you or grab a grab bar, it's just going to move all of us over to it, but then it will stop once we get there. So again, if you see that lift moving ever, just let that happen. Don't try to stop it or it will try to tip. All right, couple of tricks, and again, if you can't see, feel free to stand up. I'm just going to get myself back a little bit. All right. I live in these things. All right, so I'm in bed, which is why I'm now facing this way. But a lot of people just use the lift for taking somebody from point A to B. The lift is actually designed for any time you need to position, hold a body or body part, or for transferring from point A to B. So let's say anybody ever have to use a bedpan, catheter, Foley, intimate cleaning. In other words, you need to spread the legs. So I'm in bed, which is why I'm laying this way, pretend I'm on a bed right now. Everybody see how we have a 4-point hookup? We also have a 2-point hookup up here. So I'm not going to crisscross my legs. I'm actually going to hook straight up to my 2-point. I am not going to hook up my shoulders because I'm going to be laying on it in bed. I'm not going to go all the way, but you'll get the idea. So it's going to naturally lift, spread, and hold the legs apart. So I get bedpans, intimate cleaning. So now if I fight or resist you, I'm fighting the lift, not you. You get the idea? So that's one trick. How about limb lifting? Let's say somebody has a heel wound and they have a larger leg and they always keep pushing down against you. So again, that's some awkward motion, right? Well, we have limb lifting straps. Just because you don't have them doesn't mean you can't use what you have. You have your harnesses for the sit to stand. They are weight tested at 1,000 pounds. They're really padded, so you could use the harness from the sit to stand. Otherwise, if you have somebody with larger legs, you might want to take your sling and make your sling into a strap by just rolling it up. I'm gonna hook again to that center 2-point hookup. And I have a heel wound, so that's why we're putting it up higher on my leg. If you can't get the height that you want with your lift, use your bed height in conjunction and get the height that you want. If it's up further on the leg, you can move it down further. If you don't want to lean over the bed, pull your lift off to the side. It will take the arm or leg off to the side, and it will also, again, spread the legs if you want to. So I just want you to kind of think outside the box, that if you're doing some of those daily tasks where you feel like you're doing a lot of lifting or awkward positioning, to maybe try to see if your lift can do that for you instead. All right. Really quick. Questions, concerns? Everybody feel comfortable? So it's going to operate the same as your other lifts. More of the detailed stuff is for maintenance, but try to really focus on what you're doing. And if you feel like you're doing a lot of lifting, just stop and next time try it a little bit different to see if you can feel that. Because once you feel that, you're going to be like, oh my gosh, I've been doing so much work and I haven't needed to. All right? Sign-in sheet. If you haven't done that, make sure you sign in.
Can you mention the battery? The 4-hour?
Oh yes. Okay, so we talked about 4 prongs versus 3 prongs. We're going to do a little scenario. So we have one battery in the charger, which is up there. You guys can't see it. And one battery in the unit. So let's pretend the battery in the unit is good and new. But let's say the one in the charger is 5 years old. So we use up our good battery, and maybe it took us 6 hours. So in 6 hours, we go steal that older battery. Let's say that older battery only lets us do an hour's worth of work. So in an hour, we go back to that charger and we grab that good battery out. How long is that good battery charged? 1 hour. Here's the problem. They need to charge for a minimum of 4 hours. We prefer 6 hours, but we'll take 4 hours. So if you're stealing those batteries out of those chargers sooner than 4 hours, you're going to start a vicious snowball effect of all your batteries never fully charging, and then eventually those good batteries will go bad. It's very frustrating to try to use the equipment if you don't have working batteries, correct? So you're going to have to try to work with your shifts. Let's say it's shift change, and a half hour before shift change, I swap those batteries. Is that next shift going to know that that battery was just put in there? So maybe put some sort of a sticky note or notes that everybody's communicating with each other so that we don't have that happen. Because if you can get those batteries running smooth, you're always going to have your units up and running. Okay? Makes sense?
How many lifts should a full battery?
A full battery with a new battery, a 240-pound person will do 140 lifts for a 240-pound person. So quite a few lifts. But again, you start that snowball effect of not letting those batteries charge up, and you're not going to be able to do more than a couple hours. Okay? And batteries can be expensive, so make sure that we keep those in those chargers. And communicate with your coworkers and the other shifts. All right? Thank you. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.